Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Summer Course in Medical Physics. Thank you so much for staying tuned in this afternoon session. And now we will continue our courses by discussing about the spatial resolution. But as usual, I want to remind for all participants who have not filled the attendance list to fill it so your presence can be recognized by the committee. And for this afternoon session, we have the topic, as I mentioned previously, is about the spatial resolution, modulation transfer function, and spatial resolution, visual observation, modulation transfer function, task transfer function, and its measurement using IndoQCT. And this topic will be taught by Dr. Nurdiana Osman from University Science Malaysia. Therefore, please welcome Dr. Nurdiana.
Yeah, Assalamualaikum. Thank you, Ms. Chairperson. Okay, before that, I would like to share my screen. Can you see my screen? Okay.
Yes, Miss, we can see it.
Okay, so this afternoon session will be delivered by me, and then for hands-on session, Dr. Anna will deliver. Okay, so the topics for this afternoon is automated measurement of spatial resolution of city image using IndoQCT. So I will talk on the theory for the spatial resolution, and also how the IndoQCT will help you in measurement of the spatial resolution. Okay, so this is the topic for this afternoon, and this is all the topics that will be covered during my lecture. Okay, so we go to introduction. Okay, so in city image, there is a lot of parameters that will determine the image quality, and one of them is spatial resolution. So I will talk on spatial resolution for this afternoon, and I think this morning Dr. Anam already talked about image noise. Okay, and then when we talk about image quality, it is actually relate with radiation dose. So because when we want to get a good image quality, we actually will sacrifice using higher radiation dose. But if you want to reduce dose, then your image quality will be poorer. So it is so when we talk about image quality, we cannot miss our dose also, because it relate to each other. Okay, so this afternoon I will just focus on spatial resolution. Okay, so spatial resolution is actually in theoretically, for a good signal, ideally it should produce a point source without any it should be a good point source, okay, like this. Okay, but in reality you cannot get an ideal point source like this, because due to X-ray interaction inside the body, there will be scatter that will lead to blurring at the edge of the point. So usually the output will be a bell shape. like this. Okay, it's not a ideal or an accurate point source. Okay, because city image are corrupted by the point spread function, okay, of the city image. Okay, so PSF are from during the image reconstruction. Okay, you will get the spread of the signals, and then it depends on the type of filter that we use, and then size of X-ray source, system collimation, and then size of detectors and detectors efficiency. So all these factors actually contribute to the point source function, point spread function, sorry, PSF. Okay, so you won't get a perfect sharp image like this. Okay. So what is spatial resolution? It's actually in certain textbook they use different terms to describe spatial resolution. Sometimes they use high contrast, sometimes they use term detail resolution. But actually, all of these terms actually describe spatial resolution. So spatial resolution is actually the ability of the CT scanner to resolve between two closely objects from each other. If you have two object or pathologies that is nearer to each other, your CT scanner should able to separate it as a two object. Okay, and usually it is described as a visible sharpness of fine borders or edge of the structure. And spatial resolution is determined using point spread function, line spread function, modulation transfer function, and also edge response function, ERF. Okay, so this is all the parameter that used to represent spatial resolution. Okay, so if you have two objects that closely near to each other, so the machine or the CT scanner should able to resolve that small object. Okay, and usually it is measured in line pair per centimeter. Okay. Okay, so spatial resolution is actually the measure, as I mentioned before, is the measure of the ability to differentiate small objects in an image. Okay, let's say if you have two objects that is closely together, the machine should display it as two signals and two objects in the image. Okay, so if you get 2 points that is separately together, then it will give you a good spatial resolution. But for example, here it's not really separated, so it's not a good spatial resolution. So spatial resolution will determine the sharpness of the image. Okay. For example, these two image, okay, there are two image with different spatial resolution. So if you compare these two image, which do you think is the best that have a good spatial resolution? Okay, so as you can see here, this image, you can see the line pair up to this object. Okay, but here you can only see two groups that is with a good line pair that is clearly resolved. But in the third groups, you can see the line pair. Okay, so in this image, this image has a better spatial resolution. Okay, the left image. Okay, next, also the same, you have two images with different spatial resolution, but the right side, okay, actually has is a blur image, okay, as compared to left side. So the left side actually has a better spatial resolution. So in clinical CT, spatial resolution is important in certain protocol. For example, in high resolution CT, HRCT, you want to see the interstitial lung disease inside the lung. Okay, so you may need HRCT because HRCT will show you all the details of the disease, lung disease, okay, inside the lungs. Okay, and for HRCT protocol, usually we will use a thin slice thickness. Okay, because if you use a thin slice thickness, it will give you a good spatial resolution. And usually you will use sharp reconstruction algorithm or sharp kernels. Okay, so this one example of HRCT image to diagnose interstitial lung disease. Okay, so usually HRCT will produce superior image quality compared to chest radiography. Okay, so this is one of the example of HRCT. And now the recent technologies, they also introduce ultra high resolution CT that has a smaller detector. Okay, and then it can produce better sharpness of the image. Okay, you can see more details of the image. Okay, so this is examples of ultra high resolution CT. Okay, this is an evolution of spatial resolution in clinical study, and the latest is in 2021. They introduced Neotom Alpha. Actually, it is a photon counting image. Photon counting CT scanner. As you can see here, it produces better spatial resolution. Okay, as compared to previous generation. Okay, and the MTF produced by the latest generation is actually more, which mean that spatial resolution is better. Okay, as compared to previous generation, CT generation. So this is the evolution of spatial resolution that has been introduced in CT technology. Okay. All right, so there are different methods to measure spatial resolution. Okay, the simple one is by using visual assessment, and this is what we usually done during our QA test. We just visually assess by our eyes. Okay, so usually is performed by medical physicists. But visual assessment is actually limited because it is subjective and it depends on the observer, visual observer. So if you have like different observer, so maybe you will have different results from the visual assessment because it depends on the eyes of the observer. Okay, and then the more quantitative assessment or measurement is by using MTF. We have point MTF, and then we also have H MTF, and we also have TTF. Okay, so this is more quantitative and allow for more analysis. So using Indoclicity, actually you can go to quantitative assessment. Okay, so Dr. Anam will introduce to you later how to use IndoQCT to obtain this parameter. Okay, so next is visual assessment. Usually it is done by measuring the line pair or whole pair objects. Okay, so it can be characterized by limiting resolution. Okay, so this is visual assessment that usually perform during the QA test. Okay, so during the visual assessment, we actually count for line pair per distance. Okay, so actually the objects that or the phantom that we use for visual assessment will consist of a line pair per distance. So the line pair, the line is made up of LED bar. So it will appear high contrast line. Okay, and then separated by a gap. Okay, so and usually it is separated by equally wide space. Okay, for example here, it is 4 lines per mm. Okay, this is one examples of phantoms. And next is we can also use phantom with a hole, different holes, and it has equal distance and equal diameter. Okay, so we can count the distance between each hole. Okay, so in CP, the limiting resolution usually is 0.5 to 2 line pair per mm. And as compared to screen film, actually they have more resolution, which is 4 to 20 line pair per mm. But okay, nowadays the limiting resolution is increasing due to advancement in the technology. Okay, this is different phantoms used for visual assessment of spatial resolution in CP. This is a APM phantom. It use whole object, and SCR and CAD-FAN using line pair. Okay, this is SCR CP, and this is CAD-FAN. Okay, it consists different groups that has a different line pair per mm. Okay, advantage of the visual assessment is actually it is easy to be performed, and it is recommended for monthly QA. Okay, so physicists can easily assess the spatial resolution. Okay, but as I mentioned before, the disadvantage is because visual assessment is biased because it depends on the observer visual. So it is very subjective. It will vary from one observer to another observer. And it also depends on the expertise of observer. Okay, for example, let's say we have here a class H physicist who usually perform the annual QA test. So they are more expert in performing QA tests. So the visual assessment performed by them is usually different with young medical physicists, okay, because they have more expertise in that field. And then another disadvantage is actually it depends on the windowing that we choose during the visual observation. Okay, so you should use correct windows to visualize your spatial resolution image. Okay, so usually we will use bone window. Okay, and then the acquisition kernel should also be properly selected. Right. So in next session, I will introduce the more objective measurement using quantitative, which is MTF and PTF. Okay, so what is modulation method for MTF? We usually talk about modulation transfer function. So what is modulation? Okay, so as I mentioned just now, for an ideal city or for an ideal city system, it should perform a good gap between the LED line and also the gap. Okay, it should be 100% contrast. So the LED line will appear as white and the gap will appear as black. But in reality, you won't get a perfect histogram like this, okay, because of the spread of the signal due to interaction scatter, and you will get image with low frequency. So you will get like this, a sinusoidal or a bell-shaped signals. Okay. And then a good contrast will give you high contrast difference between the white and black. But for image with a blur image, will give you a lower contrast. So the contrast difference between LED and gap will be lower. Okay, so modulation for different spatial frequency. For example, here you have two systems. One with this one, it show you an image of a LED line and also gap. So it gives you about 90% contrast between the white and black area. And system with a poor spatial resolution will produce you a lower image contrast, and it will only produce about 20% of the contrast. So the spatial resolution is not really good due to blurring of the line. So the modulation method, the concept used to measure the change in the amplitude of wave, which is the signal wave. Okay, for example, you have 4 objects. Okay, and then this is the input, and then the output. When we do the modulation, it will give you cycles per mm, and when you plot, you will get a graph like this. Okay, so image with lower frequency will give you a cycle per mm like this. Okay. Okay, this is among the earliest work performed by Golgi. They use a phantom with a bar pattern. Okay, and then they measure at 4 different bar pattern groups. Okay. So they measure the city value of the objects of these 4 areas, and then city 2 is actually the value of the background. Okay, and divided by 2, and they get the modulation. Okay, so they get MTF by the modulation method. So when they plot, then they get this one. Okay, so this is the conventional method, and this one is the using modulation M methods. Okay. Okay, now we go to MTF for point spread function. Okay, so if you have one point and then you do the ROI, and then you plot the this is 1D image of this one. Okay, you can see the grayscales, okay, due to the spread of light, sorry, the spread of signals. And if you plot the 2D PSF point spread function, you will get a bell-shaped spectrum like this. Okay, so this is the intensity of this point. of the image. Okay, so if you plot the 2D, then you will get X, Y, and also the intensity. So you won't get a perfect histogram, but you will get a spread like this. Okay, this is study done by Dr. Anam in 2009. Okay, in this study, they use a simple wire phantoms that give a point function. Okay, and then they use a Fourier transform to get the MTF from the point spread function. So from this 2D PSF, they obtain the MTF. Okay, so MTF is actually against the spatial frequency, which is cycle per mm. Okay, so with the modulation, and you get this graph. Okay, this is the equation used to obtain the MTF graph. Okay, this is also study done by Dr. Anam also using that simple wire phantom. So they also get the 50% and 10% frequency. They determine from the MTF graph. Okay. So MTF 10% is actually the limit of visual observation. Okay, anything beyond this it cannot be observed by visually. Okay, cannot be observed visually. Sorry. This is the 50% and this is the 10%. Okay, so the 10% is the limit of visual observation. Okay, this is the example of the phantom that use metal wire. So you will get they get the graph of the SF, and from here they get the MTF. So this is the MTF for 2D. Okay, and they compare for different reconstruction algorithm or kernels. This is using standard kernels. This one using a bone kernel. So as you can see here, bone kernel produce better MTF because it can help in visualization of the spatial resolution. Okay. So, to measure the point MTF, actually in each phantom, there is a point wire or metal wire inside that phantoms. Okay, so this is for AAPM phantoms, this is for SCR phantom, and this is for CAD-PHAN phantoms. Okay, so each phantom has the area or the point where you can measure your point MTF. Alright, this is for, I can't see what is that. Okay, this is the Nyquist frequency, which is that the cutoff frequency. So how to obtain Nyquist frequency is actually by 1 divided by 2D. D is the pixel size. Okay, so actually Nyquist frequency, it depends on the FOV. As the FOV increase, then pixel size will also increase, then FN decrease. Okay, because if the pixel size increase, that means the spatial resolution will also reduce. Okay, so the measured spatial frequency should be lower than the Nyquist frequency. Okay, for example, if FOV is 500 mm, then the pixel size is 1 mm. The Nyquist frequency is 0.5 mm. So your measured spatial resolution should be lower than this. Okay, for Nyquist frequency, it cannot be used to measure city image with spatial resolution 0.6 and more. Okay, for example, here you have FOV 500 and diameter pixel size is 1 mm. So your Nyquist frequency will be 0.5. So any city system that has a resolution more than 0.5, so you cannot measure. Okay. And then FOV, let's say FOV half of this FOV, and then the pixel size is 0.5 mm. So the Nyquist frequency will be 1. So small FOV is better for measuring spatial resolution. So this is the effects of FOV and pixel size on Nyquist frequency. Okay. Okay. In here, let's say you have this one, a larger FOV, which is 261 mm. This is like almost common FOV used in clinical. So the Nyquist frequency will be 0.98. And for if we reduce the FOV to 100 mm, so the Nyquist frequency will be increased. Okay, so it is better to visualize the spatial resolution so we can get it clearer as compared to here. And that's the effects of FOV. And then for MTF H, okay, so usually it is obtained, oh sorry, typo error here. It is actually obtained from the age of phantom. Okay, sorry, my mistake. Okay, so usually we measure age MTF from the age of the phantom. Okay, age response is actually to see separation between age, okay, from the object and the background. Okay, and then for line spread function is actually depending on the line. Okay, this is line spread function and this is age. Okay, so the graph will be like this, and this is the graph for LSF. Okay, the line spread function is actually derivative of the age response. Okay, and LSF usually we present or express as full width half maximum. Okay, FWHM. Okay. Okay, this is a study done by George. Okay, so they measure at the age of the phantoms, okay, to see the response, and they also measure at the age of this object groups. Okay, and they get the ESR, okay, age MTF from here. So LSF can be obtained from ESF. So it's actually it is obtained directly also sorry from typo area. It is obtained directly from the image of line, if available, and it also could be obtained from differentiation of the ESF, sorry. Okay, so from ESF you can obtain LSF. Okay. So using conversion. Okay, this is a study done by Dr. Anam using CPDI phantom. Okay, so they measure the age of the phantoms and they obtain the graph of MPF from ESF. So this is the ESF, and then they get the LSF, and B is the MPF. Okay, so they use CPDF phantom. Okay, and then they also study the impacts of different FOV and also the impact of different reconstruction filter. Okay, they use FC13, FC13, and also FC52. Okay, so as you can see, FC52 actually a sharp canyon, so it produces better MPF. Okay, and then this one I show you different FOV. Okay, using different FOV. So as you can see here, smaller FOV, better MPF. Okay. Okay. The limitation that been highlighted in that study is when you use CPDF phantoms, you have to rotate the image. Okay, because it consists of hole, okay, at the periphery. So you have to rotate. So this is the hole of that phantom. So what they do is they rotate to 45 degrees. Okay, so this is also to avoid CPDI dose measurement because they cannot be directly used from MPF calculation. Okay, and then also they want to avoid inhomogeneity in top edge of the phantoms. Okay. All right, and then they also use field replacement. Okay, in MPF calculation. So this is also a study done by Dr. Anam. They validate the field replacement in the MPF. So this is, as you can see, this is before the tail replacement, and this is after the tail replacement. So it is the flat tail, okay, on the right tail. So the result of tail replacement, you will get a better TSF and also better curve of the MPF. Okay, so that's the results of tail replacement. Okay, and then the HMTF, just now I showed you how they got a straight line for the HMTF measurement, and then it can also be measured using orthogonal line like this at the edge of the phantoms. Okay, so this is the orthogonal line. Okay, this is automatically calculated using in the QCT. Okay, so the orthogonal line, they use rebinding methods. Okay, so as been reported by Dr. Anam team, this method is preferable because you can still measure MPF using standard FOV. That's mean you don't have to reduce your FOV. You can use current and FOV that we use in clinical, which is about 200 to 250 ml for heat. Okay, so it is more preferable. Okay, next we go to TTF. Okay, TTF is stand for task transfer function. Okay, this is important if the imaging system is behave non-linearly. Okay, so when you get the measure MTF that maybe not represent the imaging system. Okay, so in this scenario, the system resolution become dependent on the object contrast and background noise. Okay, so MTF might not accurately represent your spatial resolution, so you have to use task specific, okay, which is known as TTF, transfer function. Okay, so for example, in these phantoms, okay, so they measure the background noise, object contrast. Okay, in TTF, they take into account the background noise, object contrast, and also object radial location. Okay. Okay. For example, if you have this phantom, which is non-linear, okay. So TTF will measure, okay, and then plot the graph. Okay, and then obtain the LSF, and then you get the MTF. Okay, so I think this one will further explained by Dr. Anam during the demo session later. Okay, so this is the calculation of MTF in 4 different object that has different density. Okay, you have air, acrylic, bone, and poly. Okay, so they produce okay, comparison of MTF by these 4 objects. Okay, last is the measurement using IndoQCT. Okay, so yesterday there are a question from the participant that asking about Malaysian regulation for QA. So actually we have like a handbook for our reference for in the hospitals how to perform our QA for CT. And then it is a regulatory requirement for each hospital to submit the annual QA report for renewal of the licensing, because each hospital they have to renew the license to use the CT scanner for the patient. So it is compulsory for each hospital to perform their annual QA test. Okay, and usually for annual, we will it will be performed by Class H medical physicist, a certified medical physicist that is expert in QA. So this is a 2 books that can be used as reference, and we also use this as our reference. And inside this book, the Ministry of Health has provided the acceptance level for each examination. Okay, so for high contrast resolution test, the performance standard that been limited by MOH is it should be more than 5 line pair per centimeter. Okay, so usually it is performed annually, and it's just involve visual assessment. So there is no objective measurement. So what we need to do is usually the Class H will bring their CAT fans and test at each hospital. And sometimes there is also center that has this phantom, in-house phantom. So they just use in-house phantom for spatial resolution. And then they will scan. Okay, and then usually for monthly, I will do it also in-house. Okay, so we will scan. And then in the report that needed to be sent to MOH, we just measure how many groups that we can see, how many line pair that is clearly resolved. Okay, and then the last, the smallest possible group that we can see, and then we have to measure the gap between the line. So usually from my experience in my center, we usually will get up to 9 line pair per centimeters. Okay, from my monthly QA. So it is pass because it is more than the acceptable limit given by MOH Malaysia. Okay, and then another parameter that I study is we measure the gap for the 9 groups, and then we compare with the reference gap size given by in the manual. Okay, so you can get the manual from you can get these values from the Phantom manuals. So this is just the study that this is just the parameter that we need to measure for our annual QA. Okay, it is based on as I said, it's based on a visual assessment. Okay, but actually when we do collaboration with Dr. Anam. I think I found out that IndoQCT can provide a wider parameters range. Okay, only for spatial resolution, you can get MTF, you can get TTF, you can get point spread function, which offer a wider range of parameter to be measured. So that's the advantage of using IndoQCT. You can explore more. Okay, so this is the IndoQCT. I think yesterday Dr. Anam also introduced in his lecture. So you can use IndoQCT to measure the spatial resolution. Okay, this is the interface. Okay, you can upload your phantoms, spatial resolution phantoms, and this is all the parameters that can be measured using IndoQCT. So you can use either visual point, H, and also TTF. Okay. This is for visual assessment. So they will do the ROI for you. Okay, so the object number that clearly resolved is 3. Okay, same as our eyes. Okay, we can see up to 3. Okay, and then this is for ACR Phantom. And this is for CAD-PHAN 604 Phantoms. Okay. The demo will be performed by Dr. Anam later, but I just go briefly. Okay, this is for point MTF. Okay, using the slice for point MTF. Okay. Okay, this is using the orthogonal line to measure the HMTF. Okay. So it is passed using Bapeten reference. Okay, and then this is for TTF. Okay. For TTF measurement. All right. So for conclusion, spatial resolution is actually one of the parameter that describe city image quality. So it's actually a parameter that been used to describe the ability or to measure the ability of the city system to differentiate small object in an image. So it also describes the sharpness of the image. So it is important, especially in clinical, when you need to see details in the image. For example, in HRCT. Okay. Spatial resolution can be measured, as I mentioned before, using line pair or whole pair phantoms. And then spatial resolution also can be measured using objective or quantitative parameters such as PSF, LSF, and also HMTF. And TTF is the best for characterizing spatial resolution in nonlinear imaging system, where you have different objects, different intensity inside that subject. Okay, so IndoQCT is a tools, one of the tools that offers automated measurement of the spatial resolution, which I think one of the best option to use to measure the spatial resolution. All right, so with that, I end my lecture. Thank you for your kind attention. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, maybe I invite Dr. Anam.
Yes, we will invite Dr. Anam to give a demonstration how to measure spatial resolution using IndoQCT.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Diana, for very nice presentation on the spatial resolution. And I will demonstrate how to use the IndoQCT for measuring the spatial resolution. I'm sorry, can I share my screen? Can you see my screen?
Yes, Mr. We can.
Okay. Now we try together to use the IndoQCT for measuring the MTF or spatial resolution. And please open your IndoQCT and we will try together. Okay. We wait for the minutes to open the IndoQCT. Yeah, it is our computer is so many software already open, so it needs more times. Okay, now the IndoQCT is already open, and we will try to measure the spatial resolution. There are many phantom already can be used for measuring the spatial resolution, such as the APM, OCR, CATFan, GE, Canon, Siemens, and so on. And in this occasion, I will try to measure the spatial resolution using the OCR phantom, and then maybe the next we will try also with the CATFan phantom, okay, using the OCR phantom. So this is the example for measuring the spatial resolution. For measuring the spatial resolution, we use the tab number 1, 2, 3, 4, number 4, this one. Okay, and then we should go to this example for the visual assessment. Okay, this one. I think this one. But this image is viewed with the soft tissue window. So we should change to the specific window for the assessing spatial resolution. By using the IndoQCT, we can manually set the window by using these parameters, or in the QCT already provide the suggested window. So it is to make the user easier to use the IndoQCT. Okay, by clicking this suggested button. So this is the suggested window we can see here. And for measuring to assess the manual visually the spatial resolution, we can do that manually, and we can also using the automatic method. Okay, in this example, I will first try to use the manual method. Okay, by using the manual method, so it is based on our experience and our visual assessment. You can see here. So maybe the result of the visual assessment is vary within observer from one person to another. Okay, in this example, maybe we can see the object number 1 can be clearly resolved. Maybe the number 2 can also clearly resolve. Number 3, I think for me it is clearly resolved. And maybe number 4, it is also clearly resolved. And number 5, I think it's not clearly resolved. So in my visual assessment, maybe number 4 is the limit of the spatial resolution. Okay, and then and if you decide number 4 and then you choose number 4, it's like this, number 4, and then calculate. So we can see here the result. The set of line is 0.7 and the line pair per millimeter will be 0.7. Of course, the 0.7 is higher compared to the standard set by the AAFP paper 10. So the result is pass. Okay, it is the basically very easy to do using the visual assessment. And now I will try to show you how to measure the visual assessment, but using the software automatically, the automatic one. Basically, this method is based on the modulation method already mentioned by Dr. Diana. And this method introduced previously by the Professor Dole from the ABM. Okay, and we can, this is the modulation method. Also, we can, for example, choose the noise map method. This is the new method. I think using the previous one, the modulation method. And then this is the threshold for the detecting the limit of the resolution. In this example, we use the 0.1 or 10% MTF. Okay, and we just click this button, and the software will detect the object and then measure the modulation method described previously by Dr. Diana. And this is our result, like this. So we can see here, this is the object for the spatial resolution, number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, and so on. And this one is the result of the response from different spatial resolution. You can see here, number 1, number 2, number 3. Number 3 can be limited, but based on the modulation method, the number 3 is the limitation, the limit of the spatial resolution. So based on this software, using the automated method, using the modulation method, the object number will be number 3, and the size of the line is the 0.83, and the line pair per millimeter will be 0.6. So the result is a little bit different from the eye assessment compared to the manual, compared to the automatic one. But by using the manual assessment or automatic assessment, the result is pass, because the result is higher compared to the reference level. Yeah, I think it is very simple to do using the visual assessment. And now we will move to the second method based on the point MTF. Okay, based on the point MTF, this is the example for measuring the point MTF. We should choose the phantom having the two objects like this. and maybe we can pick to the standard window, the soft tissue window, and then we move to the another image. This is the image for the point MTF. Okay, for the point MTF, we can also using the automatic method or manual method. The manual method meaning that this is the ROI, and then we can locate the ROI in the object like this. Okay, after the object ROI is cover the object, and then we calculate like this. Okay, and then we obtain this is our ROI, and this one is our PSF, point spread function, in one dimension, and this one is the Fourier transformation of the PSF, and this curve is called as the MTF, modulation transfer function. And the software will show you the 10% MTF in this example is around 0.6, and the exact values you can see here 0.56. Of course, this values is also higher compared to the standard values. And in this graph, we can also see the Nyquist frequency. This is the limit frequency of our method to measure the MTF. Okay, and I should explain to you that in this in the QCT, we have also can also change the ROI size. In this example, we only use the 32, and we can also change the direction to get the MTF. In this example, we use the Y-axis, and we can also choose the X-axis, and then we can also the polar axis, meaning that we measure the MTF around the 360 degrees. This is the Y-axis, meaning the MTF to the Y-axis, and this is the X-axis, meaning the MTF to the direction of the X-axis. And you can change and also compare the X and Y axis. And this is the manual one. And if we want to measure the automatic one, we can choose the automatic, and then we can set the direction in this example using the X-axis. And then we can also calculate, and then we have this MTF, and we can see here the MTF is fluctuation, because of the noise. So it is the problem if we measure the MTF using the point. We should measure with the relatively high MA, so the noise is lower and our system is our image is relatively good for the measuring the MTF. But if we use the standard MA, the noise is very high, so our MTF is fluctuation like this. And this is the example of measuring the MTF in the X-axis. And if we choose to the Y-axis, we calculate again, and we get also the MTF in the direction of the Y-axis. And if we have the graph using the IndoQCT, we actually can also export our graph to the Excel file, and we can also compare with another parameters. Okay, this is the example we export. It is very easy to do, to export from our result to the Excel. In this example, I will export this one using the export, and then we will make in the E folder, for example, and I will write the file, maybe in this example MTF example, maybe. That is only the example. And after that, we only click the save button. Okay, and the MTF is already sent to the Excel, and we will try to see the file in the Excel. In the Excel file, sorry, this one, and I save in the E. The name is MTF example. This one. I open in the Excel. Okay, this is our MTF, and maybe in this example I will make the graph in the Excel. I think enough here, and then I will show the graph using the insert, and then using this one, the scatter plot. Okay, yeah, it is the example of the MTF we already opened in the Excel file. So you can measure using the InduQCT and send to the Excel, and then you can compare your MTF from the different parameters and so on. It is basically very easy and fast to be done. Okay, I will close this example. And then I will move to the another MTF. Okay, I close this one. And now we will try to measure the MTF using the ads, ads MTF. Okay, it is also we can measure automatically or manually. In this example, I will use the automatic one. And this MTF measurement can be done almost to all phantom. Yeah, because we detect the edge of the phantom. Okay, and this is the ROI types. We have the perpendicular or orthogonal. We have the square, and we have the radial one. And of course, for the standard, we use the perpendicular or orthogonal. And this is the algorithm. Yeah, we have the new algorithm, the gradient one and distance transform. In this example, I use the gradient one. This is the height of the pixel. This is the angle. For the standard, we use the 90. And then we also have the statistic method using ASF shifting. This is the standard one. We have also the fit and so on. Okay, we use the standard one, and then we calculate, and we have the this one. Okay, this one is our ROI, and the software is draw the many lines across the edge of the phantom like this, and then we collect the ASF, edge spread function, and then we average all the ASFs, and after that the software will differentiate the ASF to obtain the PSF, point spread function. And after that, the InduQ will calculate the Fourier transformation, and we automatically obtain the MTF. We also have the 50% MTF and also the 10% MTF. And in this curve, we also obtain the Nyquist frequency. So we can see that our measurement is accurate or not, pass of the Nyquist frequency or not. Okay, and this is our result: MTF 50% and also MTF 10%. This is the example of measuring the edge MTF. And maybe you can also try to, for example, to change, for example, the angle, not 90 degree, maybe the maximum is the 180 degree, this in the example. And then we only calculate this one. This is the result of our ROI. And this algorithm can detect the edge of the phantom or any object. And you can see the orthogonality of the lines here. I think it's very good orthogonality to detect the edge and also lines across the edge of the phantom. And maybe I will try to show you what is the accuracy of the orthogonality, maybe by using the anthropomorphic phantom, only for the example. I open the anthropomorphic phantom. This is the example. And maybe I will try in this position like this, only just for the example. And then I will calculate with the angle 180, and then I calculate. And we can see here the orthogonality of the line. And this is the result of the MTF measured on the anthropomorphic phantom. And this is the phantom. And you can see here the lines across the edge of the phantom. I think the orthogonality of the line is very good, and very fast. Detect the edge of the object and then draw the line across the edge of the object. Okay, like this. So by using this method, you can also apply not only to the cylindrical phantom, but we can also apply to the anthropomorphic phantom, or maybe in the next we can also apply to the patient. Okay, this is the example. And if we use for example, we use the manual one. Okay, this is manual, and then we will have the rectangle like this, and we can also measure in this location, and the line will be in the vertical direction. Maybe it is problem, because there are the different shift, different what's it called, different edge position. So by using the ESF shifting, the problem will be overcome by using the ESF shifting. I will try using the without ESF shifting like this, and we will see together what is the result. Okay, you can see here that without the MTF shifting, and the MTF 10% is 0.4. But if we using the shifting, the statistic shifting, this is the new method introduced by our teams. And then we calculate again in this example. I will look at the ROI here, and then I calculate. This is the result. We will get the very good result, and the MTF become larger to the 0.53 more millimeters. Okay, by using the statistic shifting, the problem of the position is overcome by the statistic shifting. Okay, and now we will try to another method. I think we pick to the OCR phantom, the TTF, Okay, this is the TTF. We this TTF subtype. Okay. So, as already mentioned by Dr. Diana, the TTF is the parameters to be used for the nonlinear system. It means that spatial resolution, especially for the iterative reconstruction, they not similar each other, because in the IR or using the filter will make the measurement in our image adaptively. So different contrasts will be filtered differently. It is mean that it is called as the non-linear spatial resolution. In the non-linear spatial resolution, it is not enough to measure the spatial resolution only using one object with high contrast. We should measure the spatial resolution in many objects with different contrast. It is the idea, and this method introduced by the AAPM. And the APM also has the software. The name is the ImQuest, but we can also use the ImQuest. But the ImQuest can only measure the TTF manually. You can also try. And my student here in Diponegoro University have compared between the ImQuest and also the IndoQCT. Okay, by using the IndoQCT, we can measure the TTF manually and automatically. In this example, I will show you how to measure the TTF automatically. So we choose the TTF, and then I choose the automatic one. This is the fit. Maybe you can use the standard input parameters, and then we just click this button. Yeah, I think that it needs some time, more time, because we detect the object and that we measure the MTF in 4 locations in the object. This is the result. Is that so? The software will detect the object automatically, and then we measure the ESF, add spread function, in each object, and then we get the ESF, and then we differentiate to obtain the point spread function, and then we do the Fourier transformation to get the MTF. So this is the MTF. The MTF. Yeah, you can see here and the MTF. Okay. For the 4 objects, bone, polyethylene, air, and acrylic. And I will show you the example. What is the meaning of the TTF? In this example, I will show you using maybe the computational phantom. It's only for the education, I think. I will show you using the multiple object in the computational phantom, and then I will use the FOV, maybe 150, and I add the noise maybe around maybe 5 Hotfield unit. Okay, and then I make the phantom, computational phantom. This is our phantom with specific spatial resolution. And if I measure automatically the TTF on this computational phantom, I just click this button, and then we wait for the result. The process is still in progress. Okay, and this is the result. This is the result of our 4 objects. This one, you can see here. This is the phantom, and this is the ROI in each phantom. And this one is the TTF, task transfer function of each object. Okay, so we can see here that the MTF, 4 MTF are already similar. Yeah, because the spatial resolution is similar in each location. And now we will try to filter the image, I will try to filter this image using non-linear filter. In this example, I will use the bilateral filter. This is only for example. And then I using the maybe in the next we can discuss about the filter. This only to show you how to use the non-linear filter. In this example, we use the bilateral filter, and I will use the 50 noise. Then I filter. So this image is already filtered using the bilateral filter, and after that, it is note that the bilateral filter is one of the non-linear filter. Okay, and now we will try to measure the TTF. What is the result? Okay, the process is in the progress. Okay, we can see here together. You can see here. You can see here. For the bone and air, the MTF is not changed. Why? Because the contrast is very high. But for the polyethylene and also acrylic, the object, the spatial resolution is corrupted by the filter. Why? Because these two objects have the low contrast compared to the object. So the filter will aggressively filter in the low contrast object, but they didn't filter in the high contrast object. It is the non-linear filter. And similar to this phenomenon, IR, iterative reconstruction, also behave like this. So if we have the image reconstructed using the IR, iterative reconstruction, so it is not enough if we only using one MTF. We should have measure using the TTF, yeah, because the non-linear nature of our image like this. And this is the CNR in the y-axis, in the x-axis, and this is the in the y-axis is the TTF 10%. Okay, and also we have the values. This one for the four different material: bone, polyethylene, air, and acrylic. This is the CNR. This is the TTF for each object. Okay. And by using the IndoQCT, we can also measure the ZMTF. But of course, we should reformat our image from the axial image to the sagittal or coronal. And after that, we can measure using the ZMTF. Okay, I think it is for me. And maybe after this, we can continue with the discussion. And you can also try by yourself in your home. Thank you very much, Dr. Diana. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Dr. Diana and Dr. Anam, for this outstanding presentation. And there is one question from Dr. Diana for Dr. Anam. Dr. Anam, how IndoQCT determine the number of orthogonal lines? Is it consistent to all objects or depending on the phantoms? Please, Dr. Anam, to answer this.
Yeah, technically, it is difficult to show you how to make the algorithm behind this. But briefly, I can say that the IndoQCT detect the edge of the object, and then we measure the orthogonality, and then we draw the line with this orthogonality. I think it like this. And by IndoQCT can detect not only in the cylindrical phantom, or any phantom, but can also measure with the non-linear edge. Okay, so maybe from the patient or the anthropomorphic phantom, endokinesis can still work well, I think. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Anam, for the answers. Do you have any follow-up question, Dr. Giana? Okay.
No.
Thank you, Dr. Diana. Maybe I want to invite our international participants to ask on this session. Maybe I want to let Mr. Hari Samaila. Do you have any question to the speaker regarding this topic? Okay, I think no. Maybe from Mr. Dr. Hamzah Sulemana, do you have any question to the speakers about spatial resolution?
Or maybe comments, not the
Yes,
question, but
comments.
comment.
Comments or suggestion is open to us. Okay. Maybe Mr. Iwan Felix, do you have any comments or suggestion about this topic? Okay. If no, I want to begin this discussion session by my question. My question is as previously mentioned in the first presentation by Dr. Siana, that there is the contrast resolution and spatial resolution. So what is the main difference between these two parameters, and which is the best metric to define the image quality? Contrast resolution or spatial resolution?
Okay, I think both are important parameters. So there's no best or because both parameter will describe the resolution, the image quality. But for spatial resolution, it is specific to sharpness, image sharpness. You can determine blurring in your image using spatial resolution. But for contrast, it's actually also important if you want to see the difference in image contrast or image intensity. So there's no, which one is the best because I think both parameters are important. So spatial resolution and contrast resolution. When we talk about image quality, we will relate with these two parameters. Okay. Maybe Dr. Anam has something to add.
Yeah, I think it's enough. I think these two parameters is different. Yeah, the spatial resolution is the measure of the sharpness, or the parameter to describe what is our system can differentiate the two objects located closely each other, and the contrast resolution is and how to separate the pixel values with the different city number, but closely in values. For example, the object with maybe around 5 Hounsfield unit, and the background is water around 0 Hounsfield unit. As our system can differentiate this object with the different very small contrast, it is known as the low contrast resolution. So basically these two parameters are different.
So as I can conclude that contrast resolution is divided by high contrast resolution and low contrast resolution, right?
Yeah, low contrast resolution and also the high contrast resolution. High contrast resolution is the spatial resolution. And if we use the another technology, for example, using the 4D CT, there is also the another resolution, the time resolution for the 4D CT.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Anam and Dr. Diana, for the answers. And we move to another question. Dr. Anam, can IndoQCT be used for image quality analysis on 2D images, such as mammography or general procedure radiography?
Yeah, maybe I will ask directly. Yeah, of course. IndoQCT can also be used, but using the manual one, not using the automatic one. As already yesterday, I already explained to you. Yeah, IndoQCT can also been used to measure the image quality from the digital radiography or from the MR or from the mammography, but we should use the manual one, not use the automatic one, because the automatic measurement rely on the CT number, and there is no CT number in the mammography or digital radiography. So you can use, but using the manual one.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Anam. Do you have any follow-up question, Mr. Muhammad Irsal? Okay, I think no. So there is a question from Mr. Arich.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. So in measuring spatial resolution, we have various methods such as visual, point MTF, edge, and also TTF. And we often get different results from these methods. So which one we should use and how to interpret this different in the results? Thank you.
Maybe Dr. Diana will try first to answer.
I think Dr. Anam is the best to answer this.
Yeah. Mr. Aris, yeah. We hope that all method will produce the similar result, but sometimes, unfortunately, the result is different because the nature of the different method. But I can say that the gold standard is the visual assessment. It is the gold standard. Okay, and for the point MTF, edge MTF, even the TTF is, I think, in the I think many debate about the approach, because there are many approach to get the and the result will be different. But I can say that I think the edge MTF, in my opinion, is better compared to the point MTF, because the point MTF, in my experience, is very depend on the noise, because we only have the very little data, so the noise will be affect to the result. By using the edge MTF, and if we select the very wide ROI, so we have so many lines, so many data, so the effect of the noise can be reduced. I think by using the edge MTF is better compared to the point MTF. But if we use the our image is reconstructed using the IR or using the deep learning reconstruction, I recommend to use the TTF, because the TTF not only measure the MTF with the high contrast object, but also measure the MTF in the low contrast object. I think it is better to visualize the MTF and the nature of the nonlinear of our image.
Thank you very much, Dr.
Thank you very much, Dr. Anam. And there is a question to Dr. Anam from Mr. Amar Ma'ruf. Dr. Anam, how to set ROI position for anthropomorphic phantom? You can answer it directly, Dr. Anam.
Yeah, of course. We can set the ROI manually or automatically. Maybe I will try to show you. Sorry, I will share my screen first. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, Mr.
And I will open the anthropomorphic phantom like this. This is the anthropomorphic phantom, the example. I think it is better to use the location, the edge object is relatively homogeneous, just like this. And then we choose the edge MTF. We can choose the automatic one or the manual one. For the automatic one, we only clicking one button for the automatic one. In this example, I will click this button, and the software will automatically make the ROI in this position. We can see the orthogonality. Yeah, you can see together. This is very good orthogonality like this. This is for the automatic one. And for the manual one, this is the manual. This is manual. And then we click the ROI, and then we can locate in many positions. We can measure in this location. Of course, if we choose in this location, we should measure the direction of Y. We can also measure in this position. In this position, we should change the direction to the X. Then and don't worry about the slope of the edge, because we use the statistical method for the shifting of the ESF. So the software will overcome of any shifting. So it is not problem. Okay. After that, if we choose the direction in the y-axis, and then we calculate like this, and we get the MTF like this. So by using the IndoQCT, the location of the ROI is very is free for us to set in many locations. Okay. Okay. I think this can help you, this demo.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Anam. How about Mr. Amar Ma'ruf? Do you have any follow-up question?
Amar Ma'ruf, I see the question first.
Okay.
What is the question?
Oh yes, thank you. Okay. Yes. So since and the last question.
Last question.
The last question from Mr. Ulil.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. My questions is about measuring MTF using edge methods. For measuring MTF through edge method that using line ROIs, do the length of the ROIs affect the result? If it affects the result, then are there any optimum ROIs length? Thank you.
Yeah. It is very nice question, I think. I have written, I have read the paper published in the JSCMP, Journal of Applied Clinical Medical Physics, and they evaluate the ROI size to get the MTF. Yeah, actually, the ROI size have the impact to the result of the MTF. It is especially if the noise is very high. But if the noise is relatively low and the image around the edge is homogeneous, so the line, the length of the line will not affect to the result of the MTF. But sometimes, for example, if we measure the edge MTF using the phantom, sometimes design of the phantom has very thick cover. For example, I think in the maybe in the Siemens or in the Philips, I forget. The cover of the phantom is very thick. So if we measure using the SMTF, the tail will reach to the three region. This is the problem. So I think using the relatively short line is better. In the QCT, the default using the 20, but in some cases, I recommend using the 16 or 14 is enough and better because the inhomogeneity doesn't affect to this location.
Okay, I think it's clear. Thank you for the answer.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you. And there is, I think this is the last question. And for Dr. Anam, you can give a brief answer. A question from Mr. Iwan Felix. Dr. Anam, how to open exam from Phantom to PACS?
Yeah. If you have the PACS system in your hospital, and then you can install the IndoQCT to the computer having connection to the PACS system, and then you can download by using your computer to the and the image should be saved in the drive, and after that you can open your IndoQCT and then you can analyze the image saved in your computer. I think it is easier. Actually, the IndoQCT can also connect to the PACS, but it is rather difficult because we should have the password and we also have the many aspect. So it is rather difficult to connect to the PACS system. So it is better if you install IndoQCT in your computer having a connection to the PACS, and then you open the PACS and then you download manually to your computer, and then you can analyze using IndoQCT manually just in these demos.
Okay, thank you. I think Mr. Iwan has enough for the answer, and maybe this is the end of our afternoon session. Once again, thank you so much, Dr. Diana and Dr. Anam, for this wonderful session. And we will meet again next week with the new another topic in the realm of the city image quality. Thank you so much for all participants also, and we see you again at the Monday. Thank you so much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Dr. Diana, and see you again the next week.
Terima Pak Anam.
Ya, sama-sama Pak Iwan. Terima kasih.